Here we go. This sketchbook, I just finished it, and thought I would just do a little quick spin through. This one's been, I started this about 3 years ago. It goes in, what did I say, August 2023, and I just finished it. That's May 2026. A lot of what I used this sketchbook for was for warm-up drawings or just sort of things on the internet that caught my eye to sort of take in, pose references, trying to understand how to draw pretty girls or cool poses or strange aliens. Most of these are from photo reference. As like AI has become more prevalent on the internet, there's definitely some use of AI or my experimentation with making things and then using them as reference. These are all made from AI and then used as reference. I don't care about anything that AI is made as a finish, but I do think it's an interesting thing to play around with for reference use, although I've been doing it less and less as the internet gets more full of it. But yeah, just trying to understand kind of the medium, I guess, of ink and paper too. I love playing with different hatched patterns, how you can use them to understand form, or just kind of the way they end up lying on the page. Lots of these drawings, especially on the last few pages, I feel like I'm not particularly satisfied with, but there you go. There's pieces, illustrated children's book within this time frame for a publisher, and I had a dragon in it, and I was trying to just like understand how dragon anatomy works. There's probably copies of someone else's dragon work, little snippets from film, trying to get a better grip on motorcycles or vehicles. I'm always drawing faces. I feel like I'm always interested in faces. I think they're kind of in some ways a cheat code for emotion or engagement. Even if you kind of mess them up, as long as you're close, they elicit some sort of emotional response. Strange sea creatures or film stills, trying to understand how to do like cityscapes kind of more abbreviated, I guess, in a more sketchy way. I think these are from, oh boy, what's that like show? I can't think of the name right now. Yeah, it stills from Blue-Eyed Samurai. It's just like a cool old ruin. Silly faces, a lot of at Earth swirled. I do a lot of copying or using his photographs as reference, just because the humanity that he is able to capture in people's faces is great. If you don't look at his work, you should. It's so good. I went to Comic-Con this year, and I did a little print to sell from the Ninja Turtles. That was me just trying to, like, I think, kind of understand how to draw the group together. This was me trying to figure out some sewers. This idea, it's actually still a good idea. I haven't done a finished one about sort of acts as living thing metaphor. I think one of the great things about sketchbooks is they sort of provide an external memory too. I don't know that I necessarily would have remembered that, but because I have put it in a sketchbook and I'm flipping through it, it comes to mind, and maybe it'll bring it back up and I'll revisit it. Lots of, I don't know, more studies, interesting things. Sergio Topi, I think this is probably a copy of his. I got really into him over the course of this book. I sort of shifted these, a lot of this stuff is done in felt tipped pen, and then I switched to doing dip pen for a while, just because I got really interested in sort of how those lines look different. So all this stuff is sort of dip. It's a thinner line quality, but there's something really beautiful about the way that the ink looks. It's saturated in this beautiful way. Trying to explore more deeper darks, which is something I'm always trying to understand and get better at. Interesting illustrators stuff that I found. I don't know if actually this was a copy of theirs, but it's sort of the spirit of it, this kind of strange, like falling apart, geometric people, some fish, some strange, just, I keep running into these images of these like really interestingly dressed productions that I really love. This is from Clockwork Orange. This is like trying to capture the spirit of Heinrich Clay, although I'm definitely not doing him justice. He's much more accurate. I think I was watching, oh gosh, what's that movie called? Babylon, somewhat. I don't know, it's not that recent, but I was watching that movie and sort of doing studies and drawing while I was watching. I kind of like to do that stuff. It's more just like reference material, a lot of reference. In this sketchbook, I sort of start to use reference in a different way. These are all pretty straightforward, just like looking at things and trying to observe them, trying to understand how to draw beautiful women's faces just from my head. These aren't from my head, but just trying to like understand like what is the structure of this kind of classic beauty. Obviously, beauty can be in all sorts of different ways, but that was sort of what I was trying to understand here. I really like how this one came out. The texture is really cool. So yeah, in these ones, I kind of played around with taking reference, where I would basically take a screenshot of a Pinterest page and I would just like cobble together some interesting sort of like collage of reference and then use that as my reference for drawing. And I really like how they kind of came out. They're very surreal and yet concrete. I like the shapes a lot. It allows me to sort of play around with composition while I'm building my reference, and then also allows me to play around with that same composition and change it and add things to it as I draw. And I really like how flexible it is. There's some sort of something I find is finding a framework that really suits you. You find a framework that is comfortable for you to sort of sit in, and that sort of allows you to open up in a lot of ways. Is you have this sort of, okay, here's a procedure, I'm going to put this thing together, but then within that you find all this freedom and flexibility. And I'm always sort of looking for interesting frameworks to play around with, and I really like this one. This is another one of those done like this. That's something I think I'll probably pursue in the future more, because I really like the outcome. It has an interesting marriage of the way my art looks when I'm using reference to also feeling a little bit more like free and flexible with how I make things more like how I draw from my imagination. But it's an interesting marriage of the two. This is also done that way. I did this kind of interesting like mirror aspect, which is interesting to do as, you know, I had this as reference that was somewhat symmetrical, but then drawing from it, I'm obviously not going to nail the symmetry, but seeing sort of how the symmetry shifts, and also it has the spirit of symmetry, which I think is really cool. Something I might want to play around with in the future some more. This one was definitely augmented, I think, in my reference. These two is the same, these as well. So these two are the same reference, these two are the same reference, and I think I did a liquefy function. I just kind of like played with forms and shapes, and then kind of redrew them. This is another one of those drawings where I built it out of components, just like ship parts and old weird wood and barnacles. And then I kind of made something that looked more like this. And then as I started going, I was like, oh, let me make another component. I really enjoyed this process. The one thing I wish about this was that this started to tip, and I wish it was a little straighter, but can't win them all. So yeah, that's the last page. 3 years of effort and toil and joy. Thanks for looking.